You want to support Roland Martin Unfiltered? Be sure to join our Bring the Funk fan club. Every dollar that you give to us supports our daily digital show. There's only one daily digital show out here that keeps it black and keep it real as Roland Martin Unfiltered. Support the Roland Martin Unfiltered daily digital show by going to RolandMartinUnfiltered.com. You can make this possible. Spring break offers college students an opportunity to get away and not think about the pandemic, but in Miami, it's not going well for African-American spring breakers. Watch this video.
Soon out this bit. They ain't shooting that fucking
Kelly, you see the cops just bowl over that sister there. You also see the heavy artillery there as well. You know what is interesting to me? I see white kids all the time on spring break acting a fool. I don't quite see the military assault-type weapons pulled out.
I'm tired of seeing videos like this, frankly. But in this case, it just seemed like he ended up choking her because he was embarrassed that he tripped over her. In the video, if you look at it closely, there was no contact. There was no reason for him to approach her at all. Like, he tripped. He should have just kept going to wherever he was supposed to be going in the first place. She's just trying to enjoy herself and get to her destination. It doesn't make any sense to me other than just plain racism, why these cops are doing stuff like this. Because like you said, there are white people who vacation in Miami every year for spring break. And they come out in droves and they act a fool and they are able to go back home to their families without ligature marks on their necks by way of police officer hands. So it's unnecessary. If you cannot do your job without racial bias, you should not be in that job.
Ruban Roberts is head of the Miami-Dade NAACP. He joins us right now. Ruban, again, the point we're making here is do you have to have assault-type weapons, military weapons, to deal with people on spring break? I only seem to see that when I'm looking at black and Latino people.
I can barely hear you, but I think what you're asking me about is the assault weapons. And yes, this is not a common occurrence. Spring break, the month of March, you have spring break from all college students. And then there's a period where there's HBCU students that come. And what we don't normally see on the beach is these assault-type weapons with the pepper spray bullets. And they use those to disperse crowds, from what I understand. In the case of what we just saw with Kyla London, is the young lady. My understanding is that she was running from Loomis Park. There was an incident that happened on Loomis Park where there was a fight and the officers were attempting to disperse the crowd. And in their effort to disperse the crowd, this young lady heard those pepper spray bullets and she just started running. And she collided with the officer. The officer pushed her. She, natural knee-jerk reaction, she kicked her feet. He took 2 steps away and then he came back at her. And so this is something, and then choked her. We know that that's not a part of their protocol in terms of apprehending a subject. No one asked her, well, what was going on. It was an incidental contact. They collided with each other. He didn't see her, she didn't see him. And that's the way it appeared to be to me. And that's what she reported to me. And so it's a huge concern. I think that, we have the right to assemble freely. I mean, it's a part of our rights. And we want for black and brown people to come to the beach and be able to enjoy everything. So you have over 40,000 people that come over there. You have bad actors anytime you have large crowds. But treat the criminals as criminal. And don't just paint everybody with the same brush because of the color of their skin. And so I don't know what's going on with this situation, but yes.
What has been the response from the police? I mean, what does the city manager or the mayor say?
So the police officer, I spoke to the chief. I haven't spoken to the city manager and mayor. I reached out to them. The chief initially said it looked like incidental contact. And subsequently, he called me and shared with me that they are going to do that they are doing an internal investigation on this particular incident. So again, I came out strong on this one because I've been working with them for the last 3 years. I think we did something previously on Memorial Day about the incidents on Memorial Day, and so I'm not pleased with everything that I'm hearing from the police department. I'm not pleased with what I'm hearing from the city of Miami. But this has to change. I can't sit idly by and allow our daughters and sons to be treated this way. Listen, this young lady has a promising future. Now she's a college student. Now she has a criminal record. We already start off at a disadvantage. The last thing that you need to do is, because of an incidental contact, have this young lady have a criminal record that's going to affect her when she goes out to try to get a job and that sort of thing. And this happens repeatedly. And so we're going to be working with the city of Miami the city of Miami Beach to make some changes. But we had to call them on this one because this is just totally not acceptable. We can't stand for these types of things to happen with our kids. Bad actors, arrest them. But kids that are there to enjoy themselves, allow them the liberty to do so.
Ruban Roberts, Miami-Dade NAACP. We appreciate it. Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
We'll go back to Michael and Melik. This is the issue for me, Michael, when you look at, again, these videos. I see white kids congregate on spring break. I don't see the same police reaction. Mm-hmm. And then what happens is when you have these groups of black and Latino kids, then you see this heavily armed police presence, then that creates tension among black and Latinos, and now you have escalate to the point where you don't have somebody, which should be the cops, because you got all the power, you got the guns, you can throw people in jail, to de-escalate. That's the greatest problem. Police are not de-escalating situations.
Well, it's almost like when I was watching that video, I tried to imagine it not being in color. And if you turn it in your mind to black and white, it looked just like some of those images we saw in the South as we've studied history during the civil rights protests. And it's just tragic that it can still happen in 2020 because people of color in that incident, and Roland, you mentioned it about with white folks, the white folks get the benefit of the doubt when they're in crowds. Brothers and sisters and Latino brothers and sisters do not get the same benefit of the doubt. And that's when you're talking about the escalation and the drama and things happen. And it's just so unfortunate. And and 45 has had every opportunity to try to turn his supporters into understanding that America is changing, that the diversification of America is a good thing. But he doesn't do that. So we see the rise of, I don't want to say what's going on in different police departments, because certainly I don't know, I haven't investigated them. But we certainly see the rise of white supremacist groups in America because of 45. And that's the same attitude.
The issue, Melik, that we keep going to, again, it goes to how we are perceived, how we are seen. I go back to, which I think is a fundamental issue for police officers. I remember when comedian Gary Owen was a military cop when he was in the military. And he said, look, I encounter drunk soldiers all the time. He said, but my job was not to escalate a situation. It was to de-escalate. I just think the fundamental issue that we continue to see, that you have cops, when they see black and brown, all of a sudden it's like something in their brain just goes to a whole different level. And it's like, all right, let me brace myself. Let me get ready to throw down, as opposed to approaching Black and Latino kids the same way they deal with white kids. And that's, fortunately, whether we're in Miami or in other places, that's the distinction. I see white kids turning over cars and burning cars when they win an NCAA championship. Well, then you see this video here.
Yeah, so three things I'll say. The first one is that I wish more of those kids were at home. The second thing I will say, too, I don't think that the officer's response or overreaction or whatever you would like to however you would like to define it, I don't think that has anything to do with Donald Trump at all. So I just want to push back on Michael's assertion otherwise. The third thing is that this is not uncommon. We've talked about it on your show many times before, where Black people are seen as, whether it's menaces, we can think of what happened with the officer and Michael Brown, where he said that Michael Brown had after he was shot, that Michael Brown had bulked up as if he were about to run through the bullets. So this type of superhuman type of, sense that people have about Black people, where we're not just humans, we're the other. So whether we're beasts or whether we're even super predators for that matter, or where we are the ones who need to be thrown up against the wall and frisked because that's where generally all the crime is. This is just something that is in bed in the fabric of America. So this is, it's unfortunate that these type of things happen, and especially in a place as diverse as Miami. But I do hope that the officials get a hold of it and hold the officers and any of the officers responsible. And I can understand from a certain perspective where some officers are running into a situation blindly, but where we see the officer and it looked as if he was literally had his hand around her neck. Well, he didn't run into anything blindly. He was there at the time. And so this is definitely something that needs to be addressed, and I'm glad it's being brought to our attention.
All right, folks, back to our Roland Martin Unfiltered video in just one moment. All right, so a lot of y'all are always asking me about some of the pocket squares that I wear. Now, Robert don't have one on. Now, I don't particularly like the white pocket squares. I don't like even the silk ones. And so I was reading GQ magazine a number of years ago, and I saw this guy who had this pocket square here, and it looks like a flower. This is called a shibori pocket square. This is how the Japanese manipulate the fabric to create this sort of flower effect. So I'm going to take it out and then place it in my hand so you see what it looks like. And I said, man, this is pretty cool. And so I tracked down, it took me a year to find a company that did it. And so they basically about 47 different colors. And so I love them because, again, as men, we don't have many accessories to wear, so we don't have many options. And so this is really a pretty cool pocket square. Now, what I love about this here is you saw when it's in the pocket, it gives you that flower effect like that. But if I wanted to also, unlike because if I flip it and turn it over, it actually gives me a different type of texture. And so therefore it gives me a different look. So there you go. So if you actually want to get one of these shibori pocket squares, we have them in 47 different colors. All you got to do is go to RolandSMartin.com/pocket squares. All right, so first of all, that graphic is way too small. So tomorrow we're going to run it right down here all across the screen. So it's RolandSMartin.com/pocket squares. All you got to do is go to my website and you can actually get this. Now, for those of you who are members of our Bring the Funk fan club, there's a discount for you to get our pocket squares. That's why you also got to be a part of our Bring the Funk fan club. And so that's what we want you to do. And so it's pretty cool. So if you want to jazz your look up, you can do that. In addition, y'all see me with some of the feather pocket squares. My sister, who's a designer, she actually makes these. They're all custom made. So when you also go to the website, you can also order one of the customized feather pocket squares right there at RolandSMartin.com/pocket squares. So please do so. And of course, it goes to support the show. And again, if you're a Bring the Funk fan club member, you get a discount. This is why you should join the fan club. Now back to your Roland Martin Unfiltered video. You want to check out Roland Martin Unfiltered? YouTube.com/Roland S. Martin. And subscribe to our YouTube channel. There's only one daily digital show out here that keeps it black and keep it real. It's Roland Martin Unfiltered. See that name right there? Roland Martin Unfiltered. Like, share, and subscribe to our YouTube channel. That's youtube.com/Roland S. Martin. And don't forget to turn on your notifications so when we go live, you'll know it.